Hi, my name is AC Catalan, and this is the Module 3 case study for physician-assisted suicide. So the study starts off with the nursing staff on the floor reporting the situation. So I am the chief medical officer of Emerald City General Hospital, also known as ECGH. And Dr. Galush is an internal medicine hospitalist at Emerald City Medical Group, ECMG, who is taking care of Glinda Good, a patient that is admitted on the oncology floor at ECGH. Glinda has metastatic lung cancer, which means that the lung cancer is spreading to her spine, liver, and brain. She has been ill for a couple of years now and is now refusing all treatment, only comfort care. Glinda was in a lot of pain, and Dr. Gulsh, ordered various pain medication to keep Mrs. Good comfortable. Dr. Gulsh ordered a large dose of a cocktail which consisted of morphine, Valium, and potassium chloride. The nurse refused to administer the medication, but Dr. Gulsh proceeded to administer the cocktail. Mrs. Good died approximately 40 minutes after the medication was administered. So the case study continues on with the investigation. So the floor reports that Mrs. Good is in extreme pain, gasping for air, with a bounding and irregular heart rate. Dr. Gulsh ordered the meds to stop Good's heart, according to the nurse. When the nurse refused, Dr. Gulsh administered the cocktail himself through Mrs. Good's IV port on her arm, so the medication was administered IV push. So Dr. Gulsh reports that the medications were given via IV drip over a period of 7 to 10 minutes. The floor nurse also reported that Mrs. Good begged Dr. Gulsh to stop the pain and give her something to let her die. So the case study continues along with investigating through the electronic health record, also known as an EHR. Mrs. Good has end-stage lung cancer and is actively dying the night of the incident. The large doses of medication are clearly recorded in the MAR, medication administration record. The floor nurse notes that Dr. Gulsh administered the meds via IV push while Dr. Gulsh reports that he administered them via IV drip. Both nurse and doctor note that Mrs. Good was begging them both to give her something to let her die. Did Dr. Gulsh violate any law or ethical rule? So, assisted suicide falls under the normative ethics. So what is normative ethics? According to POSGAR 2019, normative ethics is the attempt to determine what moral standards should be followed so that human behavior and conduct may be morally correct. Normative ethics functions under the basis of creating standard norms of conduct. One of the central questions argued by POSGAR 2019 is whether human actions are to be judged wrong or right, solely according to their consequences. So, was this assisted suicide, and what is the difference between assisted suicide and murder? So, assisted suicide, according to Steck and others, 2013, state when a patient explicitly asks a doctor to prescribe drugs that both know will end the patient's life, the result is an assisted suicide. Assisted suicide is different from euthanasia, due to the request of the patient for a life-ending drug. Murder, as defined by Cornell University Law 2022, murder occurs when one human being unlawfully kills another human being. Assisted suicide and murder. So, assisted suicide involves a licensed physician and a patient. Murder involves any two people. Assisted suicide, both the physician and the patient have to agree to the patient, which is also the requester, dying, along with other rules and regulations that need to take place in order for the assisted suicide to concur. Murder, only one party needs to be in agreement to the other party dying. So why this was not assisted suicide? So, under the basis of murder and euthanasia, Postcard 2019 explains that the Death with Dignity Act explains the Death and Dignity Act. This act allows the terminally ill residents to obtain prescriptions that are lethal doses of medications. So, the steps, according to Postcard 2019, is make the initial determination of whether a patient has a terminally ill disease, is capable, and has made the request voluntarily. Inform the patient of, and this is sections 2A through 2E, his or her medical diagnosis, his or her prognosis, the potential risks associated with taking the medication to be prescribed, the probable result of taking the medication to be prescribed, and the feasible alternatives, including but not limited to comfort care, hospice care, and pain control. Step 3 is when the attending physician needs to refer the patient to a consulting physician for a medical confirmation of the diagnosis and for a determination that the patient is capable and acting voluntarily. So in this case, step 3 was arguably not taken. So, in other words, why this was murder. Exercising the Death with Dignity Act. In order for this to be exercised, the attending physician needs to provide steps 1 through 3 on the Death with Dignity Act process and to fill out the form, which is on page 477 in the textbook, and I also put it over here. The requester must have less than 6 months to live. The patient must convince the doctors that the decision is not under suicidal ideations with a 15-day waiting period. And then 2 physicians need to confirm the diagnosis and the prognosis. The patient must have a witness present for both the oral and written request. And also the state health department must be notified of all the prescriptions made to the patient. Does actively dying matter? Yes, it does matter. So, Postcard 2018 states, the Oregon Death with Dignity Act allows physicians to prescribe but not administer lethal drugs to the requester, who must be terminally ill with fewer than 6 months to live, which can be found in page 477 in the textbook. Does the patient wanting to die matter? Yes, it does matter. In step 1, located in page 477, of what the attending physician states, make the initial determination of whether a patient has a terminally ill disease, is capable, and has made the request voluntarily. So on page 476, it states that the patient has to have made the request voluntarily. Recommendations for Dr. Golsh's next steps. So, he must be provided or may need to find legal representation. In the textbook on page 476, Postcard mentions the Michigan and assisted suicide case, which states that Dr. Jack Kevorkian was charged with first-degree murder due to assisting a patient with Alzheimer's disease in committing suicide. So that was it. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you have a great day.